Welcome everybody to the Brother Speak podcast. This is Brother Speak. If you're new to the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Today is a serious topic that I wanted to touch on. We had a lot of mass shootings recently with the Buffalo shooting. You had the one in Uvalde, then you had the one at the hospital. Um, of course, we all the Mr. Frank James going around. He doing his little shooting. We had Um, there was a black guy and ran into a crowd like over a year ago. Um, and in a lot of these situations with these mass killers, mass shootings, and just mass killings of people, we find out that a lot of times that these people are isolated, and social isolation can cause a lot of damage mentally to where you'll think about doing stuff to other people. You'll think about lashing out at other groups online. You join different groups who really don't have the best intentions for you. They're full of hate for other people. Um, so we'll go over a little bit and just have my commentary on it. Now, so what we talking about isolation, social isolation? You're just keeping yourself away from social settings, different groups, and you're in relationships that don't satisfy your needs. And what tends to happen when you go into isolation, that you you have your own echo chamber. You don't you keep yourself from different ideas, different groups, and when people are trying to talk to you, you just block them off. You know, we have people that they'll barricade themselves from friends and family. And why does that happen? Why do men isolate themselves? Well, there's multiple reasons. One, it could be sickness. You have a disability. It could be you lost your job because, like I said, a man's producing. If he's not producing, man feels worthless. So he keeps himself away because he don't want people to see that. You could have had a bad breakup. Um, some dudes who got divorced, they isolate themselves because they don't want to risk getting hurt again. Because again, for men, it's harder to fall in love than women. Women is easier. For men, it's hard. And so when you lose that, especially if it's not some, even if it is partially your fault, that can be very devastating. And so you'll isolate yourself to keep from giving your heart again. And why it is, if I look here, and so why else do you could be this happy with the church? Because especially with the black community, the black church is more centered around women as opposed to centered around men. And so you feel left out because I know in the church it's about what you're feeling. And a lot of times when you as men, when you're in the church, there's no feelings there. We're logical. We're thinking, okay, I don't feel this. I'm supposed to be learning something. Everybody jumping up and down. So That isolates us. The other thing that makes men isolated because is the whole notion that you're supposed to be the strong man. You're supposed to be stoic. You're supposed to be the rock. Well, the thing about being the rock is that rocks wear down after a while. If you put water on a rock, if you throw a little bit of water on a rock, nothing's going to happen to it. But if you keep throwing water on a rock over time, it breaks down. That's why part of the issue is that you're supposed to be the strength of the community, and you can't show weakness. Because I've heard that from other men. You can't show weakness towards your women. You can't show emotion. The problem with that is when you do feel emotional, you tend to block people out, and that's where the isolation comes in because you don't want to show that you're weak, and you don't want to show your woman, your children that you're weak. Because if you're showing that their weakness, then they don't have, then that makes them feel unsafe. What the problem with that is that, but you don't have nowhere to go to, nowhere to talk to, nobody to talk to. So now you isolate yourself. So I was reading some statistics here that said that men, a number of men 65 years or older living alone will increase 65% by 2030. Now, they said men, they didn't say black men in particular, but you can about imagine with black men, considering our economic status, I say you can add another uh, 10 to 15%, and that'll probably be accurate. United States, 60% of the homeless are male, and if you the gender gap among homelessness is not in shelters, but even more strikingly, 70%, 70.8% are male. Now, like I said, the individual man feels invisible for a number of reasons: disability, depression, end of a critical relationship, joblessness, and more. Like they said, dudes feel invisible because, you know, we've been taught, not to worry about men, not to even, ask about their days and stuff like that, more than the more than just the genetic how you doing. How many of us call homeboys? Ladies, y'all too. How many of y'all call your fathers every day? Call your brothers, call your male friends every day. Bet you not many. How much call homeboys or co-workers every day? Really, we don't. So they end up being invisible, like no one cares. Now, on the flip side, those men tend not to try to engage because you don't want to seem like you're weak and nothing like that. Or you may be awkward. Maybe you're not the notion of, you're not the idea of masculinity that people try to portray. So it becomes a situation where you're just invisible. You don't try to make yourself known because you feel like no one would care. So what are the consequences of social isolation? Well, one of those things is self medication because you're unhappy. It causes depression, which in turn, because most in the black community do not seek therapy, you self medicate, either drugging yourselves, alcohol, or sex. Isn't like some of the dudes who slinging their dick around are the most lonely people in the world because they don't know how to interact other than with their penis. They don't have no job skills. They can't provide anything. So the only thing they provide is their penis. You know. So increased sexual activity. You got drug and alcohol abuse. You join different hate groups, such as some of the dudes in the manosphere. You see them. They just you hear the hate. You can feel that hate coming out their voice when they're talking. But that is part of isolation. They isolate themselves from people. They isolate themselves from women. You notice that there was a big feud. It's still going on, but it quiet down every once in a while. But every once in a while, it picks up this feud between the guys who don't get women like that and the guys who claim that they do. The game guys versus the guys who don't have game. There's a big feud back and forth. I think it really picked like hood dudes versus the educated dudes. You seen that picked up last early this year with the whole thing with Kevin Samuels and Nicki Minaj. And part of that, the problem with some of the dudes who are educated is that they don't feel like they have a place. See, a lot of these dudes who are hood, some these dudes who can talk to women, have that conversation, they have a place in the black community that a lot of these other guys don't. If you're not charismatic like that, if you're not able to socialize effectively, yeah, you get isolated. People will not pay attention to you. So that's why you see these guys rage against guys who can get women, even rage against guys who can just talk to women on just talk to women online. You can have panels where the men and women just talking, and they able to speak and have good conversation. Then you have this one dude just come out of nowhere, these bitches, bitches, and you're like, what the hell? That's part of their anger because they're isolated. They don't have that connection. So, what are the other risks? It increases the risk of heart disease and stroke, a lot more stress. When you're isolated, you're under a lot more stress, and you can't share that stress with other people. So that causes increase in heart disease and stroke. Physiologically, social isolated people experience more fight and flight reactions and micro awakenings, which may occur when the brain is overly alert for threats during the night. They can't sleep well. Um, you become more afraid, which it it adds it more to your isolation because now you don't know how to deal with people, so you're more able. I mean, you're more likely to avoid social gatherings as opposed to embracing them more. I remember one of my coworkers after his mother died. He isolated himself a bit. He'll other than coming to see me and a few friends, He really kept more to himself. So when it was time for him to try to go back to work, he couldn't do it. Couldn't handle it. It freaked him out. Came back for 1 week and retired. Tried to go, came out of retirement, tried to go one day and could not do it. And the people who, and also you will act more aggressively, which is lead to a lot of these shootings because they feel that the people who they isolate themselves from is the ones that wronged them. It's society that's wronged them. It's not my fault, and sometimes it's not their fault. But many times it is their fault that they isolate themselves. Then they turn against society. They turn. You see how these dudes act towards women on the panels. They just, Michael, just aggressive for no reason. One little thing might tick them off. Next thing you know, she's a bitch, she's a hoe, she's all these things, but the child of God. Then they turn it on you. You bitch ass nigga, you this, you that. Like, damn, whoa. I just disagree with what you said. What is this? And what tends to happen after that, either you damage yourself internally or delete yourself, aka suicide, or you go shoot up the block. There's a reason why a lot of these dudes shooting up the block, killing all these people, attacking people, because they taking it out on society. Now we know about the white dudes. We know how they do. Shoot, when they pissed off with people, everybody get these bullets, and some of these black folks, black men are following suit because they don't see no way out of the situation. They're isolated. Even they're black men in the house with a woman, with children, and they feel isolated. We got to talk about that too. Because again, he's supposed to be the rock. He's supposed to be the strength. But how can you, as the strength, show weakness to the people around you when they're depending on you for their strength? The bills are due, the wife's unhappy, the children unhappy. You can't change it. Your money not where it should be. You might be hurt and you ain't got the money that you should be. You feel less of a man because you're not providing the lifestyle that she wanted, and it may not even be an expensive lifestyle. That's why sometimes I think some of the talking points of some of the women out here were talking about, I need this 6 figure dude. I need to be spoiled. But if the guy don't have it like that, it makes him feel even more isolated. I can't be with nobody. I don't have. I can't take care of her like that. Not to blame the women, but this is the mindset that these dudes are having. And then you have society that pushes that you got to provide this lifestyle for these. You have to have these 6 figure money. You got to have all this. The you got to have the diamond, the jewels, all the cars and stuff, and then you're having a successful life. But if you're not able to get that, that can cause isolation. It'll cause you to shy away. Now you're joining different groups that hate your race. That's where some of your coons, some are created because they feel isolated from the community. They turn into your coons, your sellouts, and then they turn that against you, against, well, not you. I mean, against his own brother, his own sister. So, other than acting more aggressively, acting out, shooting up, suicide, of course, health reasons, engaging in illicit drugs, unsafe practices. That's what happens when you get isolated. You isolate yourself from people that mean something to you as a as it's. But I know the black community is not going to talk about this. I know that the black manosphere is not going to talk about this stuff. But this is the stuff that you need to talk about because this is the stuff that's happening to black men right now. You have a segment of black men right now that don't feel like they got anybody they can talk to. And the only group they have is a group of men on here who are using it for their own financial gain. And some of these women too, for their own financial gain. And they will take these isolated dudes, these dudes who don't have any connections, and they will milk them dry or use them against other people. So, how do you prevent this? How do we prevent these guys from being socially isolated? Well, part of the thing is that for us as a community, if you know a dude, we have to know the signs where he's just pushing away from social interaction, hole up in his room playing that PlayStation 5 all day. He's drinking all day. I was talking to a former coworker at the party last week that I went to. It's an African party. We were chilling. He told me, man, shit, man, I drunk all day. He drunk up from sun up to sundown. I said, well, what, are you drinking with people? I'm like, no, by myself. I'm like, but that's what happens. So part of the thing that we as a community going to do, we got to interact with these boys. We got to catch them young, and also talk to the men in your life. It has to be more than a conversation of, oops, sorry. It got to be more of a conversation of how you doing. Talk to them, see how they feeling, and you may have to do that multiple times. I know with my mother before she passed, when she knows there was something wrong with me, she will hound me. She would keep asking, "How you doing? What's going on?" You have to ask those questions. Give them to open up. In the prison, they tell us, we do need to talk to the inmates, listen to the inmates. Why we do this? Because they isolate themselves. Let's say they got a set off, or they got beat up, they got a Dear John letter. They isolate themselves as well, and we have to watch out for that because that guy is dangerous. He's either gonna X himself out the game, or he's gonna X somebody else out the game. Hey, conscious, what's going on? So you got a family member who's isolating himself. You got to dig in deep. Men and women, guys, don't believe on that. You have to be isolated. You have to be strong. You need to find people that you can talk to, preferably a therapist, someone you can talk to about your issues. I would say social media, but social media is the tricky thing because you got to watch who you say tell your business to, because some of these people are so vicious that they will use that against you. Matter of fact, I would keep my personal business as much as possible off social media. Maybe meet someone if there's someone who's a therapist. Meet them offline. Like D. Durrell, he's a therapist on YouTube. You could talk to him offline. I think Miss Topaz is a therapist. You can talk to her offline. Talk to somebody. I understand, you supposed to be a man. I know you've been taught that as a black man, you're supposed to be strong. Oh, you that's weak. But we have to get out of that thought process. It's not weak that you say you're scared. It's not weak to say that, hey, I'm afraid of being in a relationship. It's nothing wrong with saying that. But it's another thing to isolate yourself to the point where, because of your fear, because that fear turns to hatred, and the hatred turns to anger, and this is when you start going off on people. You start want to X yourself off, or you're going to X other people off. If you have different hobbies, there's groups for that. Different groups. You can go join the groups. You know, take the time, join different groups, because listen, this is it's serious. Now, look, I'm a loner, but I still go out. I go out and meet different people. I have there's a club I go to. I go outside. I go travel. I might pick up on my days off. Shit, take a couple $100, go out out of town, because you can't hold up in your house forever. It's okay to be a loner. Let me backtrack. It's okay to be a loner, but it's another thing to be isolated from people, because isolation is toxic. You have nobody to bounce your ideas off of. You have nobody to um, congratulate you on certain things, and eventually, that's like I said, it turns dark. Your thoughts turn dark. Now you're mistrusting of everybody. You're angry with people. Now you're going off on people online because they ain't agree with you. Or it's a Tuesday. Now you're calling everybody in nigga and all this shit. It's not a life to live. Get away from the social media. Social media is causing you all this anger and stress. You just disconnect from it. Go take a walk. Go outside. You know, it's isolation can kill you. Being alone is not the problem. It's when you isolate yourself socially, emotionally, mentally. That's when the problems really come in. And you see what's happening now. You see what the white dudes, you know what the white dudes are doing when they get isolated and join these hate groups, and it's filling their minds, and now they want to shoot up the block, shoot up a grocery store, shoot up a church, shoot up a damn school full of kids. The isolation is toxic, man. And black men are starting to get to that point. Well, they've been kind of doing it, but it ain't like on some mass shooting at everybody. Do step on your toe, step on your shoes, and now you want to shoot him and kill him. The girl turns you down. Now you want to bite her or shoot her, and her family because something because she turned you down, she dumped you. That's what isolation will do to you. And you got to go get help. I'm stressed again, mental health. That's a big thing. That's a big problem with black men right now. Our mental health, much more than the physical. Mm. Sorry that they're about to sneeze. The main thing is don't isolate yourself and don't use social media as a way to replace people in people in your physical life. I know getting online, talking to people is cool, and you know, I there are a lot of people that well, not a lot of people. There are a few people on here that I like talking to and would like to meet offline. But at the same time, I don't let it replace just having social interaction with people offline. I still talk to my coworkers. Um, we be having good conversations at work. At the end of the day, is don't isolate yourself. It's okay to be a loner, but don't isolate yourself and don't totally cut off social interaction with people because what will happen, you get depressed, you start self-medicating, drugs, alcohol, and yet these dark, dark thoughts keep circling your mind, and then now you now you mistrusting everybody. Now you're online yelling and screaming at women, yelling and screaming at guys. I mean, then what's next? Now you're angry at the world, and you see when you feel like that life is worthless. So it's either you're gonna X yourself out or you're gonna exile other people. And like I said, don't do it for people, do it for yourself. Although other people can benefit. Because at the end of the day, a healthy you is the best version of yourself. A healthy you is the best version of yourself. More than how you dress, more how your body shape, but a mentally healthy you is the best version of yourself. And you can't get that shutting yourself off from the world. So that's it. This ain't gonna be too long because I didn't want to make it too long, but I just wanted to put that out there because you're seeing the results of isolated men. You see what they're doing to people who are just living their lives. You don't want to be that man. You don't want to be the one acting a fool, and you're on the news as a serial murderer. Okay, or you don't want to X yourself out, and now your family has to grieve and wondering to themselves what I could have done to stop this. Don't isolate yourself. If you're having issues, go get help. Don't let this whole I'm a man and I gotta be no, don't let that drive you. Yes, you're a man. Yes, you're supposed to be the strength, but you still have to get your strength from somewhere. You still got to build your strength. You got to protect it from being washed away. And people in the community got to protect these men from their strength being washed away. And these are the type of topics that we need to be talking about as black men, but you know how that goes. Women, 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 women. Meanwhile, we Xing ourselves out and other people because we're not happy with ourselves. And with that, I'm going to stop it here. Thank y'all for listening. Thank you for Conscious Moron for coming through. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.